evening, everybody. Welcome back to Horse Center. We got Swiss Army Sean and I dressed the same because we're super duper fly guys in horse racing today. Number 3 gear. And Erica, I don't know, where's your blue shirt today, Erica?
I don't know. I didn't get the memo.
Sean, what?
Yeah, that was my fault. I guess we'll just do that for now on. We'll coordinate and we'll just leave the guest out on the
hanging out in the cold, so to speak. So we're joined tonight with Jockey Erica Herrforth. Erica, how are things going for you?
Yeah, they're going good. Thanks. Just keep grinding and working horses in the morning and hoping for the best, but just got to keep working hard.
So you gallop a lot of horses in the morning. Who do you primarily gallop for?
Primarily for Joe Sharp. Mostly, actually, I work for Joe Sharp at the moment, and then any opportunities I get to go and branch out, I am doing that as well. So it's really good. It's a really good setup, and I'm learning a lot, and I couldn't be more grateful for that opportunity.
Yes. So you did ride you rode 2 horses so far. Your first ride, well, that's kind of like it couldn't have gone any better.
Yeah, I'm still in disbelief. I mean, I went out there and I was on a mission and I did everything correctly and I had the horse to do it with, and she won it for me, and I rode the same horse back and we got 4th, and she tried her heart out that second time too. We were just in a tougher field, so that's part of racing, isn't it?
Mm-hmm. Well, not everybody wins their first race, so you had to feel really good about that. Describe, not after you crossed the finish line, but the moment you knew, you know what, I'm going to win this. What were you? How did you feel?
I was in disbelief. I mean, there's a picture of me smiling crossing the finish line because I was like, oh my goodness, we just won this race. But before coming around that turn, I had a lot of horse left, and I just let her do her thing, and she started pulling away, and probably about a 16th before the pole, I looked back and I was like, we're not even close to being touched by anybody. So it was a great feeling, and I couldn't be more grateful for it. And I'm still in shock. I can't believe it. I mean, I've worked a really long time for this, and it's coming full circle. So it's really good.
So you're a graduate of the North American Racing Academy, right?
Yes. Yeah.
And then after that, you rode a little bit here, spent some time, a couple of years, I think, in Australia, found your way over to England. And you mentioned that the riding in Australia is considerably different than the riding here. And the riding in England is probably different than both of those. So none of us are going to really get that chance other than people who've been in your shoes. So if you can, describe Australian racing, American racing, and then English racing. What makes them different and what makes them the same?
So, I mean, I guess I'll start with the similarities. I mean, with especially England and Australia, it's a lot of turf racing, and their horses are quite similar in that fashion. Now, it's much different. It's much different as far as the training methods go. I mean, every country you go to, they've adapted to what they have. I mean, in England and Newmarket, you have Warren Hill, which they train on a hill. It's not a track. In Australia, they train primarily on tracks. You don't, it's very different. You don't jog the opposite direction over there. And they've got about 7 tracks all in one area, and you cross each one to get to the designated track that you're at. And in Australia, they slow the horses down, and they practically lope them around there, some trainers, and they want them nice, collected, and just like very, very steady. And England, they're very flowing, still collected, and then over here it's a bit faster paced. And I'm very fortunate to have had the opportunity to see all of those different styles, because I mean, when I have horses here that need certain techniques that, we may not always see or get over here, I'm able to do that. So, I mean, I've ridden a lot of grass horses because, again, primarily grass over in, especially Australia, because I was in New South Wales. I don't think there really is any official dirt tracks in New South Wales. There are picnic races, but it's mostly the turf, and there's a few, poly tracks over in England. So um, I've had some really good opportunities to ride some really good horses, and it's been an adventure for sure.
Prior to going to Australia, you went to college for political science, correct?
Yeah, yeah.
So, what were you thinking about? I know you said you always wanted to be a jockey, but you obviously went to school and maybe had a plan B in mind. What was plan B with the political science? Were you planning on running for president or chancellor, or what, or do you just want to represent horse racing in the new HISA? That's kind of controversial.
Well, I wanted to do something with the equine industry for sure. I just the goal in mind was law school at that time. I came out of high school knowing about the North American Racing Academy, but I had a little pushback from my parents. They were like, "Hey, we want you to have a 4-year degree." And I had a lot of trouble, finding something that I enjoyed other than horses while at college. So political science was the next best thing that I found interesting, and I was, relatively good at it. So I went with that, and that's how I ended up with the political science degree. And I actually took the LSAT to go to law school, and then I was sitting at my desk one day and I was like, you know what? I'm not ready to sit behind a desk. And I immediately applied to BCTC. I got accepted. And because I graduated with that 4-year degree, my parents were like, okay, well, this is what you still want to do. We'll support it. And the story it goes on from there.
Erica, the first start and first win, what was the most intimidating part? Getting in the gate and everything?
The most intimidating part was probably the parade before the race. I was just like, okay, I was like, don't let me go, please. I was really, really nervous, and I didn't really I was like, my legs were shaking. I was like, I don't want the pony guy to let me go. I just want us to get back to the gates, okay? And then once I was in the gates, I didn't have time to really think in the gates because I was in that 6th spot. So as soon as we got in there, we went, and it was good because I didn't have to sit there and think, which was really nice. But that beforehand, making sure I remembered all my checklists, pulling down my goggles, everything was probably the most nerve-wracking part for me.
Now, in that part, is that one of those the races was a blink of an eye, or one of those the race in your mind lasted 10 minutes?
It was slowed down. So when we broke from the gates, and I was like, okay, I got to get a good spot. And I mean, I stayed wide for quite a good bit of time. And then once we got to the back stretch, I was like, oh man, we're in this for real. And that back stretch felt like forever. It was like slow motion going into that back stretch. And then the turn too. And then finally it started being a lot quicker down that front stretch.
Do you have Carry On now in the next mount for when she runs, or you don't know yet?
I'm not sure yet. I'm sure there's a good chance that I'll be put back on her. We are trying to find a race for her now, but I've had a few horses that are in the making, so we'll see. Hopefully, I get those mounts. So, but Carry On is definitely going to be another mount of mine. I couldn't be asked for a better horse to teach me, and to learn from her is really great.
Talk about Joe Sharp a little bit. All we hear is all great things, and we had Rosie on the show. She's great. Talk about him a little bit and how great of a trainer he is and what he does for everybody.
Joe, not only is he he's a great trainer, but he's a great people person. I mean, in the barn, he cares about his people. He wants everybody to do well. And I mean, I've been in contact with him since the very beginning. I came out of the school and immediately went to him, and he's been my mentor ever since. I came to him first, and he was like, listen, like, you need to go to a farm. And I went to the farm, and then I came back to him. And then ever since, even when I was in Australia and England, I would always call him and he always makes time for people. And that's one of the biggest attributes about Joe that, you know, I really appreciate, is his ability to make time for people and care about his people. And he does a really good job with his horses. He knows what he's got. And yeah, I couldn't ask for a better mentor. I mean, I know I've said that so many times. I really am so appreciative of him and Rosie, and um, just the ability to have a trainer to ride next to whenever you're breezing horses, and him to look over and say, "Hey, correct this," or "Hey, maybe try this. This might help you," is, you know, indispensable. Like you can't get that everywhere. So I really, really appreciate all of the stuff that he has taught me and continues to teach me every day.
Are there any horses right now that you're working that maybe run in the next couple days that are really live?
I'm not really sure, to be honest with you. We have Nana's Gray running tomorrow. She won her last time out. And we had the ones that I really knew about were last week, and we had 2 fillies that ran really good first time out too. So I'd really have to look again to see all who we've got. I mean, we here at Churchill, but as far as we have a few running at Canterbury too that are looking pretty good. We have Spanish Kingdom looking really good, and so. And we have Elva Ball. She won last time out at Churchill. She'll be running at Canterbury, so we'll be looking at her. She's going to be one to look for too. So we have quite a few that are running really well. They're working and training really well. So best of luck to them. We'll see.
Do you go on any of those travels to the other tracks, or you stay at Churchill?
I stay at Churchill. Yeah. So I'm based out of Spectrum, and I travel around, and wherever Joe wants me to go, I'm very flexible in that. So if he says he go to Keeneland, go to Churchill, go to Spectrum, that's where I go. So
it sounds like a t-shirt. Go where Joe wants me to go. You got to trademark that before somebody takes it from you.
We should trademark that.
So take us through your typical day. What's it like? I know that I read and heard that you like to work out. So how does your day come together?
So we'll go for a Monday. So on a Monday, we'll start with a Monday. I'll get it to the track at about 5:20, and then I'll set my saddles for the gallops. And we tend to gallop probably around anywhere from 5 to 7 horses a day. And then from straight after training, we'll get done at 9. I will drive to Lexington. I work with a personal trainer. Her name is Sunny Bain. She's incredible. She was a rider herself. So she really knows how to hone in on those muscle groups that we really need as riders to be strong. And she really understands. And so I'll work out with her for an hour, and I actually meet up with one of our other gallop riders that work for Joe. Her name is Sierra, and we work out together and we push each other, and it's really great. And then I drive home and do a lot of recovery. I do a lot of yoga. I do a lot of guided meditation. But that would be a typical Monday. And then a typical Thursday would be the same thing, except I would come back for races. And if we have horses entered in the races, if I myself am not racing, I will go back to the barn and braid the manes for Joe's horses. So he likes the manes to be braided, and I enjoy doing it, and I enjoy making them look good for the paddock, because presentation means a lot to me, and I'm glad that I can contribute in any way that I possibly can. I like being part of the team, so that's my contribution to Joe's team when we're racing.
Braiding the hair, that's interesting. What is it like, braiding regular people's hair, or is it any different?
It's not really all that different. I mean, it's you just braid it and roll it down, and I just band it. It's pretty simple.
How do the horses react to that? Because I've heard stories about some horses that aren't so friendly and some that are friendlier. So what do you do if you're trying to braid the hair of a horse that's not so friendly and doesn't like it?
You do it very carefully.
I would imagine for sure.
Very gently.
So I know Sean had mentioned it before, but right now you're at Churchill. Are you open to, if opportunities come to be a jockey or to get mounts, to go pretty much anywhere?
Absolutely. So I do have to ride one more mount at Churchill or Kentucky for the stewards for Kentucky in order to get my full license. So after that mount, I'm free to go anywhere. We may stay in Kentucky for probably a little bit longer than we had originally planned, which is really good because the jockey colony in Kentucky is incredible, and I couldn't ask for a better group of guys to learn from, and I want to learn from those people. So I'm a true believer that if you learn from good people, you will be good yourself. You surround yourself with those people, and it'll hopefully rub off on me. Eventually, our plan is to go out to the East Coast and probably base ourselves at Laurel Park and see what we can do there.
Well, there's plenty of options around that mid-Atlantic. So you got Laurel,
Yeah.
you have Sean's tracks out there, Parks, Penn National, go up I-95, you're into all the NYRA circuit and so forth. So plenty of options out there.
Right.
So it looks like you have something to say, Sean. Fire away.
Well, I was going to ask, how long does it take to braid the horse's hair?
It depends on who does it. For me, if I take my time, it takes me 20 minutes. If I'm, in a little bit of a hurry, but I still want it to look good, I can do it in 15. So.
And then when does it get unbraided?
As soon as the jockey gets on it, they start unbraiding it.
Wow, okay.
So I make it to where it's super easy for them to just pull it out, and because they grab onto the mane, get out of the gate. So sometimes it's hard for them to grab if it's braided up.
So the other interesting part is if Jose Ortiz ever lets me ride Latruska and I win, I'm still not considered a jockey, even if I go through all that stuff. I got to ride 3 races.
In Kentucky, it's different from state to state. So you have 3 conditional races before they give you your full jockey's license, and they have to approve you. They just want to make sure that you're safe and you look like you relatively know what you're doing, and you're not going to go out there and make a catastrophic accident. So I think it's a good system because they can really watch you and you can correct yourselves, and if you need more time before you can become a jockey, they let you know. So I think it's a good system.
What kind of treatment did you get after that first win in the locker room?
I got a lot of eggs. I mean, we were walking through the tunnel and James Graham came running over to us and he was like, "Give me your helmet and vest." And I was like, "What?" I was like, "Why do you need my helmet and vest?" He's like, "Don't ask. Just give me your helmet and vest, put your silks back on over and walk up the steps." He's like, "Actually, take your boots off too." I was like, "Okay." So I was greeted by lots of water, like immediately a giant bucket of water as soon as I came up the steps. And it was really cool to celebrate that first win with all of the guys. And, they were all happy for me too. And I got lots of baby powder. I inhaled a lot of baby powder that day. But it's definitely a moment I'll never forget because I felt like it was like a welcoming type of deal to happen to me. And for it to happen my first race too. And at Churchill Downs of any track, it was just, you can't even dream that. Like it's been a dream come true for sure.
Absolutely. So were you at Churchill during the Kentucky Derby?
I was, yeah.
Were you at the Derby?
I was, yes.
Was your first time or no?
No, it's my 3rd time. It was my 3rd time at the Derby.
So the first one was COVID then, right? And the second one was like 50% population, and this last one then was the full population. Is that right?
So my first Kentucky Derby ever was the Derby that American Pharoah won.
Oh, good start.
Yeah. That was really cool. And then I actually went to all 3 Triple Crown races that year. So that was a great year. And that's actually the year that I was just like, yes, I am doing this.
I can imagine. Did you envision yourself on a horse like American Pharoah down the line?
Yes, absolutely. I'm like, that is going to be me one day. We're going to do this. I want to race horses. I want to be a part of this sport. And American Pharoah truly is what made me really fall in love with this sport. It's just the excitement and being at the Belmont when he won, just the crowd was just crazy. Like people around you were crying and, it just, the way it made me feel, I was just like, I want to feel this more. So
I can imagine. So when you're not riding horses, you're not crying about American Pharoah, you're not braiding hair, you're not making workout videos that Jamie Martinez is saying, "Woo, this is tough." So when you're not doing any of those things, what are you doing for fun?
I really like to read. I do read a lot. I like to hang out with my family. I hang out by the pool. I love running. I run a lot. So, I mean, it goes back to exercising, but running helps clear the head. Um, Believe it or not, I like to crochet. I'm like a little granny.
So you can do those. What are those commercials where the guys are like knitting for like the Liberty Mutual? So do you make
Yeah,
like shoes for your dog and stuff like that?
yeah,
Nice.
yeah.
Interesting. Well, maybe you can make a horse racing today crochet that I can, or Sean needs something to hang up behind him more than I do.
I'm not very good at it, but I could try, and you could like hang up my effort.
No, I mean, we would absolutely love it. It would be a beautiful thing to do for sure. So when you run, how do you get rid of runner's knee? Because I start running now, I get runner's knee. It can't get it to go away.
The yoga helps a lot with that. It's the stretching, making sure your body's properly warmed up before you run, making sure that you properly stretch after you run. Stretching is a very, very important routine to add to any exercise and work. Even before I ride, I try to stretch to make sure that I'm awake and your muscles are warm, because whenever you work those cold muscles, you're more likely to tense up and not be able to keep those injuries from coming.
When Rich does the yoga, we're going to do a live stream, and we're going to invite you back to teach Rich how to do it.
What do you mean when I do it, Sean? I do it all the time. What are you talking about, my man? I'm a yoga freak.
Yeah.
I probably, the unfortunate thing for me is I was one of those people growing up. I was extremely flexible without needing to stretch.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So I never really got in a habit of stretching because I didn't need to stretch to be flexible. But then as you get older, you become stiff as a board. And then you're like, well, I don't need to stretch because you think you don't need to stretch. And that's probably the dumbest thing that I do. Well, one of the dumber things that I do for sure. Sean, what are some of the dumb things you do?
I do plenty, but we're not going to get into that. No, I'm pretty conservative. So no.
Yes, I agree. So anything else, Sean? We do appreciate you joining us, Eric. Anything else?
Well, have you gotten used to this part? The interview part?
No, not at all. So they interviewed me at Churchill Downs before my second race, and I was like, oh my goodness. Like that was my first interview that I've ever had on television. And I was so nervous, and I was like, where do I look? Like, I'm so sorry if I stutter. Because when you first messaged me about coming on the show, I was like, what do I do?
I remember that. That's why I asked the question.
Yeah, I was like, I was so confused. I didn't realize. So I didn't realize I would win, and then I didn't realize what would come after that. And all of that it was overwhelming at first, but I'm calming down. It's getting a little bit easier, but I'm still very much in awe, and I'm still on a high from winning. And I know that I'm going to have many, many lows in my career, but I'm also going to have many, many highs to follow. But I'm enjoying this first one.
Absolutely. Just keep your eyes on the target. Don't worry about what's behind you. I think you have to have like a baseball closer's mentality. in life. What's done is done. It can't be undone. So on to the next one. So we can go where Joe says to go on one side, and what is done, it can't be undone. It's already done on the backside. Look, we got an awesome T-shirt. Maybe we could sell those T-shirts, Sean, instead, because we need to sell more of these.
Yeah, here we
Just
go.
make sure that I know to wear the T-shirt next time.
Absolutely. We'll let you know in advance what color we're both wearing. Absolutely.
I appreciate it.
That's because after this, Sean and I are going to go to Great America together.
Great America.
Yeah. Do you know when you go to like the amusement parks, there's always people that have on the same exact shirts? You ever noticed that before? Or no?
So you don't lose each other. So.
Yes, I guess that's why. But it would be tough because he's in Pennsylvania and I'm in Chicago, and of course you're in Kentucky, so we couldn't.
Yeah, one of us would really be lost.
Would be you.
Yeah, absolutely. I am good at that.
Absolutely, 100% for sure. Well, we hope you enjoyed your time here, Eric. I think that the comfort depends on the host. And, of course, Sean's a great host, so he makes sure everybody's comfortable before they come on. And then hopefully from there, I don't screw it up.
Yeah, this has been great. Thank you so much for having me on. I really appreciate it. I appreciate being able to get my story out. And it's like I said, this has all been wonderful. And I really appreciate the immense amount of support that I've gotten from, the start to my career. And we'll just keep working hard for you guys so that I can hopefully, keep going.
Well, we hope that when you do ride an American Pharoah type horse and that you end up in the Belmont for the Triple Crown, and when Sean and I get back to you, you're like, who are you guys again?
No.
No, we know better than that. All right. Well, we do appreciate your time, Erica. We wish you nothing but success, and we do hope to see you in the Triple Crown winner's circle soon.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate you guys. Thank you.
It's been our pleasure. Have a wonderful evening. Thank you.
Thank you. You too.
Bye-bye. All righty, Sean. Okay, now I'm the big head. I got to get better than that. And we did not coordinate, folks, to wear blue and blue today.
No.
I flipped on the screen. I saw. I was here first, waiting for Sean. I see him come in the blue, and I'm like, "Should I go change?" He's like, "No, keep it on." It's all right. So,
and the best part is when I went to connect to the different internet, I came back and you were gone from the screen. I swore you went to change your shirt.
No. I went to go get my phone. And it's a good thing I went to go get my phone because before we got started, Sean thought that we were tricking him again, and that both Erica and I were in on it because he said he couldn't hear us. So,
well, now we know for future guests, we got to click completely out of the internet to get back on because we had this issue with Gerald Delp last week too, where he was coming on and there was no volume either way. So
you got to click out of close the browser completely down and reopen it for sure.
Yep.
So
now we know.
100%. Sean, one of the things that they say is if you want to be successful, what are you supposed to do?
Think to be successul. I don't know. I don't know this one.
You don't know?
No.
So if you want to be successful, emulate somebody who's successful, right?
There you go.
I mean, maybe that's there's story in that in itself. But it seems that whatever Kentucky is doing, they're successful. Their historical horse racing, I found this to be amazing. This is an interesting story to me. So on Kentucky Derby Day, the Kentucky Derby took in $46 million in gambling or bets to handle. And the historical horse racing on that day took in $27 million. So you think, yeah, you know what? The Kentucky Derby lifted the historical horse racing. But we read down the story a little bit. On the following Saturday, the historical horse racing took in $27 million and $2 million on Churchill Down races. It's absolutely bigger than the real races. Isn't that amazing?
Yeah, that's really crazy.
And what's interesting about the story is what they write in here is that they're using that money to increase the purses at Churchill Downs.
Well, at least that's a good part of it.
Well, I think it's all part of the legislation, right? That they put these things in. There's some benefit to horse racing. But those other states that are out there that are, looking for revenue sources, right, that are interested in maintaining their horse racing industry and maybe even improving it, emulate who's successful. And I don't think there's any state in the union that is, horse racing happy, if you will, that wants horse racing, that's doing it better than Kentucky.
Yeah, and you've said that before, and I mean all the facts suggest that. So I don't know why more states don't.
Well, they don't listen to me.
They don't listen to you, and they don't go look at the stats that prove it.
Yeah, well, it's just common sense to me, Sean. Right? I mean, you do certain things a certain way, and you get a certain result.
We talk about this all the time too. I think there's so many different things tracks could do to bring in more profit, and they don't want to do it. It's almost like the time and effort thing. They'd rather just see it come rolling in with the casino with not much time and effort.
Yeah, absolutely. Do you know who the happiest guy in South Florida is going to be come Friday, Sean?
No, I do not.
Yeah, come on, you got to know. I sent you the links. You didn't read the stories. You got a 33% chance to get it right.
Too many.
You got a 50% chance to get it right because there's only 2 stories left. All right, so Edgar Zayas has been out for a while after getting shoulder surgery. He's going to be back on Friday. Said he got to spend some time with the family. Was really happy about that. But at some point in time, he's like, man, I can't wait to get back to work. So he's going to get back to work on Friday, Sean. So let me ask you, 6 months at home every day with Blake, do you think he'd be ready to get back to work?
Oh, that's a tough one. You know what? No, because I was that way with COVID, and it was 3 or 4 months, and I was not ready to go back to work. I loved everything.
Well, no, that was 3 or 4. It wasn't 6 or 8.
Yeah, that's true. And Blake was 2, not 4. Maybe now at 4.5. Yeah, maybe.
And his aim wasn't as good back then, I'm sure.
yeah, he had none of those Nerf guns and stuff, and didn't know how to use them.
Yeah, so
I will say though, with Edgar Zayas returning, he's always been money for me with speed horses. He's another one. So maybe my luck can change betting too if I bet some. I'll give him a week to get back into riding.
But he's been riding. He's been galloping in the morning for a couple of weeks now. So he's going to be ready to go
a little bit with
Mm-hmm. And he's really hungry, so I would expect some aggressive rides out of him. Paco, I know Paco's up here. Good thing.
Yeah, I'm telling you though, if he's like an only speed in the race, he's as golden as some of the other guys I've talked about with the speed horses, Jose Ferrer and stuff. He is really good with that.
Money on the front end.
Yes,
absolutely, for sure. I don't know if you saw today. I think it was the first race at Finger Lakes. A couple of months ago, we had on Chantel, and I think on that day when we had on Chantel, earlier in the day, there was a swan and a flamingo on the track, both of whom got locomotived by the horses and apparently survived. And then today at Finger Lakes in race 1, so you can see right there, they say there's a deer, but I think they missed something on here because if you look down here, there's another deer.
Yeah, there was a few.
There was 2. So there's a mama and the baby. And I'm really kind of surprised growing up in the country and knowing how animals can be very defensive for their offspring. I'm kind of surprised that these horses charging in here. Mama didn't come this way or baby didn't go that way. I think that's almost a miracle.
Yeah. And the jockeys, I did watch this one. I didn't watch the ending. I just watched the YouTube clip attached to this. And the jockeys, I mean, you can see there him pulling up a little bit. They did a great job to not affect their horses, but also to slow up enough to not hit these deer. And I was actually surprised there was not a no contest with this. But the jockeys, I mean, they all
had a disqualification in that race too. So it was, very eventful first race at Finger Lakes today.
Yeah, that was a whole different thing. They were coming down the stretch and bumping and stuff. But yeah, not too often you see something out on the track and you have that inquiry to make sure everything's good there, and then you have an objection, like all kinds of things going on.
Yeah, I'm actually kind of surprised in these more rural settings like that, or where the woods, butt right up to the course, that you don't see more of that. I was out golfing with my son on Sunday, and at about, because the deer feed at certain times of the day, right? They like to come on at dawn and come on at dusk most of the time. It's when you see them. And as it was getting dark, the deer were starting to litter the golf course where we were. And we saw a couple of them, mama and her babies out there, eating. And, if you think they're used to people being around, you can walk up on them a little bit, but not too much, because I don't know if you've ever been around a deer, but you probably have, being in the Pennsylvania, but they're kind of skittish.
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and exactly what you're talking about. Like when you see 1 or 2 cross the road, there's a bunch more coming too. So,
oh yes,
and you don't know which way. The same thing too. You don't know which they can be going that way. Something scares them, and they're coming back the other way. So, yeah, quite amazing that
Well, I think every person who's ever been in the country for an extended period of time has had a deer or multiple deer just kind of run right across the front of your car.
Oh yeah, and most people have hit a deer. I have not yet, but I did have one on the highway where I literally closed my eyes and braced myself because I didn't know how I did not hit the deer. It was, it was just in the middle of the highway and there was nothing I could do, but apparently the deer got away just in time.
You ever seen the movie Black Sheep?
No.
With Chris Farley and what the hell's the other guy's name? Chris Farley and the skinny guy, David Spade.
Okay, no.
Oh, you got to watch that movie.
They're deer?
It's funny as hell, and there's a deer scene in there that I promise you that tears will be coming down to your eyes. You'll be laughing so hard. It is, I think, and I don't know, maybe by a show of hands, I think it is by far the best Chris Farley movie. It is hilarious. I promise you. And we don't normally do. Maybe we should do a movie recommendation on Tuesday or something. But if you want a good laugh tonight and you haven't seen Black Sheep, go ahead and sit down, put it on. I promise you, you'll laugh your rear end off. And it's probably one that you could watch with kids that are maybe 10, 12 years old and not really have to be like, I got to change the channel. Because I don't really think, if I remember correctly, there's, much in there in that respect. It's just kind of slapstick humor that's really kind of funny. Fat guy in a little coat.
I will check it out the next time I have time to watch a movie.
Yeah, you should check it out. You'll definitely laugh. All right, Sean, well, that takes us wire to wire on this Terry Tuesday. Any final thoughts before we get out of here? Why don't you fill us in on the schedule for the rest of the week?
So tomorrow we have Jockey Adamir Santos, and then Thursday on the Player's Edge we have Terry TD Houghton, and we'll talk Thistledown and
Ohio Derby, baby.
Which one of my Kentucky Derby pick is in there, White Abarrio. So
but maybe he can win that one.
Maybe. I mean, he's 7-2. He's the second choice behind Tawnyport, who's the favorite at 3-1. So, and also, now I'm going to forget. Arterial Road's in that race as well.
Yeah, so it's a pretty good field then, eh?
Yeah.
And I know that on Spot Plays, the Eddie C. and Chris Parmalu also plan on covering that with their unique perspective on how they make selections. So you're going to want to check that out. Saturday morning at 9:30 a.m. Eastern, I think, or 9 a.m. Eastern.
9 a.m. Eastern.
9 a.m. So they're going to start at the top of the hour. And then Friday, my friend Tom and I will be back a little bit earlier than usual because I have some stuff to do Friday afternoon. So we'll probably start around 9 o'clock, 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock Eastern, maybe 10 o'clock Eastern to go through the Curragh for some races on Saturday and Sunday for our Foreign Fridays. And that, of course, will wrap up our week. Tomorrow, Terry and I will be back at 12 noon for our coverage at Canterbury Park for tomorrow, where they have 5 stake races and they have a all-turf pick 5 for $100,000 minimum. So hopefully we can cash that today. Right now, we did some picks earlier today for Horseshoe Indianapolis, and man, I wish I had moved the 2-horse instead of my 4th pick, my 3rd pick in the second race, and I would have hit a nice, I would have like a $1,200 pick 4 for $18. But shoulda, woulda, coulda. It's the name of this game. Yeah,
and actually, speaking of some jockey news here, Deshaun Parker, you said 1-1, so he's 1 win away from 6,000. There's only been 20 some jockeys that have done that. Kylie Jordan, who's been on our show, is only 1 win from career win 100. And then Tyler Connor with Penn National will start again tomorrow. He's 9 wins away from career win 1,000.
Milestone week it is then.
Yeah. So we'll see.
Absolutely. Hope everybody hits those milestones this week, especially since many of them have been on our show.
And then one other thing, Andrew Wolfson, who we had on the show, had a triple today riding triple at Parks today as well.
Was he on like the 80-1 that came in?
No. It looked like a $3 horse and then 2 5-2 shots. It looked like that he won.
There was like some bomb that came, like a 50-1 came in one of those races. Unfortunately, well, we didn't do Parks today, so I would have had him if we did Parks today. So it would have been my top pick. Anyway, all right, that takes us from wire to wire today, Sean. Thanks for filling us in as always. We hope we thank you for joining us tonight. We hope you enjoyed the interview with Erica. We sure did. We look forward to being back tomorrow. And Terry and I hopefully will hit some nice picks tomorrow at Canterbury Park. Maybe help some folks cash that $100,000 guaranteed pick 5. Until then, until we get together again, Sean, we certainly hope that everything you do ends up in our good friend Jay Marco's
winner circle.
Oh, that was enthusiastic.
Winner circle.
There you go. That's better, Sean. Have a great evening.